Oh yeah, looking good. Steady as she goes, dude, and crank up those tunes.
Donda, 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 Donda.
Here it is, the long-awaited list. Kanye's albums ranked. Kanye West is the most influential hip-hop artist of all time, so you probably know who he is. And if you don't know who he is, he's that guy who said poopity scoop and nothing else. That's it. That's all he did. For the past 2 weeks, I've been re-listening to all of his albums just so I can pick the perfect placement for each and every album. And you know what? I'm proud of my ranking. It's hard ranking the greatest discography ever in music, but I managed to do it. And of course, my ranking of albums will be different from yours. This is just my opinion. But since I'm always spitting facts, this list is 100% accurate. So you don't need to look at other people's rankings of these albums ever again. But before I start this list, I'm only ranking his solo albums. So no Cruel Summer, no Watch the Throne, and no Kids See Ghost. But if I had to rank them off the top of my head real quick, Cruel Summer would be here, Watch the Throne would be here, and Kids See Ghost is one of my favorite Kanye West albums ever. It's easily my favorite Kanye album that has been released within the last decade. I'm gonna share it with the number 3 spot. And one more thing, I swear this is the last thing. There is no such thing as a bad Kanye album. Every album here is great, and every album in the top 5 I consider a 10 out of 10. We good now? Alright, let's get this shit started. I wanna eat.
My crew is big and it keeps getting bigger. That's cause Jesus Christ is my nigga.
Jesus is King, Kanye's 9th studio album where he takes a gospel turn to his music. Let's be honest. We all know this was gonna be in last place. But with that being said, I do think the album is overhated. I've always liked this album. I think a lot of the songs are good sounds to my ears. I'm sorry I'm not a music critic. I can't really describe what makes an album sound good. But tracks like Hands On, God Is, and Use This Gospel really bring this album up for me. And I don't care what you say, God Is a beautiful song. Shit had me wanting to go to church. But I feel like what really brings down this album is that the best songs on this album are nowhere near as good as the best songs on any other Kanye album. And also, some of the lyrics rub me the wrong way. But I still like this album a lot overall, and that's really all I have to say about it. Highlights of this album are Everything We Need, Hands On, Use This Gospel, Every Hour, and God Is.
Sometimes you gotta close the door to open a window.
Kanye's 8th studio album, Ye, is fucking great, and 2018 in general was a great year for Kanye. But we are way past Jesus is King territory. Every song on this album is great, besides Wouldn't Leave. And yes, I do like All Mine. That come line had me rethinking my entire life. Ghost Town is a spiritual miracle bop. Violent Crimes makes me not want to have a daughter. And I Thought About Killing You is Kanye's second best opening track, period. It's one of my favorite Kanye tracks ever. If it wasn't so short, it would be higher. And if the next album on this list didn't have some of Kanye's best songs ever. Highlights of this album include I Thought About Killing You, Violent Crimes, All Mine, Yikes, and Ghost Town.
She just want my love, so she gon' love me. I got them all white T-Fazos on my feet.
Kanye's 6th studio album, Yeezy, is a little overrated. This is the album where Kanye is the most experimental in my opinion, like he channels his inner Death Grips, but unlike Death Grips, Kanye is actually good. And I only say that it's overrated because I be seeing this album in a lot of Kanye stans' top 5, top 3 Kanye albums, which it's not. Not that the album's bad, of course, it's fucking great. But I feel like this album has 5 amazing songs on it and 5 good songs on it. Just good, nothing more, nothing less. The 5 amazing songs being On Sight, Black Skinhead, New Slaves, Hold My Liquor, and of course Bound 2. And every other song is good, but nothing special backing them up. And yes, that includes Blood on the Leaves. That song is definitely one of Ye's most overrated songs.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry for spitting facts, I'm sorry. But I still think New Slaves and Bound 2 are top 20 Kanye songs. I kind of already said the highlights in my amazing tracks, so let's just move on.
I am the glob glow gab galab, the schwabble double wabble gabble flibber blah blah blah.
Kanye's 10th studio album, Donda, is, surprise surprise, it's the album of the decade so far. Fuck Whole Lotta Red. After 3 listening parties, a Drake beef, and a bunch of delays, did this album live up to the hype? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. It did live up to the hype. I was listening to only this album for 2 weeks straight, and I can confidently say here that this is at least a 9 out of 10 album. There are so many great songs on here, and I feel like this album is the perfect blend of rap songs and gospel songs. This is what Jesus is King should have been. From Jail to No Child Left Behind, this album is consistently great. Off the Grid making me want to break some old lady's knees, then 24 making me want to take that old lady to the hospital. And Donda Chant, me and the homies only listen to Donda Chant. The only reason why it's not a 10 is because I do think it goes on for a little too long. Like, I don't even think the part 2 tracks should be there. Like, just make a deluxe version of the album and put them there. Like, okay is just okay. Like, hearing that song twice on the album does not make me feel okay. But other than that, this album shits on Certified Lesbian Boy, Certified Gay Boy, Certified Boy, Certified Lover Boy. Highlights of this album include Jail, Junior, Believe What I Say, 24, Moon, Jesus Lord, Pure Souls, and this God tier 3-track list.
Animal crackers in my soup, monkeys and rabbits loop the loop.
Kanye's 4th studio album, 808s and Heartbreaks, made after the breakup of him and his ex-fiancée, Alexis Pfeiffer, and the death of his mother, Donda West. This is the most different sounding Kanye album because it's not really a rap album, it's mostly him singing in it, which of course is not a bad thing because I freaking love this album. I think it's a borderline 10 out of 10 album. Like, I really don't have anything negative to say about this album, other than I really used to hate the song RoboCop when I first listened to this album. But it's grown on me. I think this is the start of Kanye's perfect albums on this list. The only reason why it's not higher on this list is because I don't think any song on this album is a top 20 Kanye song other than maybe Say You Will. I mean, that might not be a good reason, but shut up, I just like the albums above it more. Highlights of this album include Say You Will, Welcome to Heartbreak, Amazing, Paranoid, and Heartless.
I shitted in my pants, I am for real, never meant to make
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Kanye's 5th studio album and his 5th best album.
Boo this man!
Hey, wait. I have my reasons. It's just that every album that I haven't mentioned yet is just better. Made during the most controversial part of Kanye's career, most media outlets portrayed Kanye as a bad person. So Kanye traveled to Hawaii, grinding on this album because he thought this album would make or break his career. Out came My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Now I know there's a shit ton of people that think this is his magnum opus, and they do a good reason. Like, there's not a single mid track on here. Every track in this album is great. Like, borderline amazing. Dark Fantasy is my favorite opening track to any album ever. Devil in a New Dress is one of Kanye's best songs ever. The 30-minute short film music video is the best music video ever. Monster has the only good Nicki Minaj feature in history. This album is a 10 out of 10. But there's different levels of 10 out of 10. We have 3 levels. The low level is where it's a 10 and you have no complaints, but you definitely heard 10 out of 10 albums that were better than this. The mid level being is perfect, but it's just missing that oomph to boost it up. And the highest level is peak music. And this is on the low level of 10. But goddamn, this album is a slapper all the way through. But here's a controversial opinion. Runaway is not even a top 5 track on the album.
What did you say?
Yeah, I said it. I would put Dark Fantasy, Gorgeous, Monster, Devil in a New Dress, and okay, I guess it's top 5, but barely because it's number 5. But yeah, this album is amazing. My highlights are Dark Fantasy, Runaway, Gorgeous, Monster, Devil in a New Dress, and Blame Game. Late Registration, Kanye's 2nd studio album. It's amazing. Wow, who would have thought? Big surprise! I honestly don't know what to say other than this gives me cum-cums in my tum-tum. Which it does, but yeah, this is just an amazing album. Gone is a top 5 Kanye song. Heard 'Em Say is a top 10 Kanye song, and Touch the Sky and Hey Mama are a top 20 Kanye song. And Late is underrated. Another perfect album other than that Brandy track. Let's go. Top 3.
You are my friend. I don't hear you there.
The Life of Pablo, Kanye's 7th studio album, is so damn fire. This is probably another controversial rank because I don't think a lot of people have ranked this album this high, especially with the albums I have above it, but it's just amazing. Just every single song makes me want to splooge my goo all over my room. Like if I put one song on this album, I'm just like, well shit, I gotta listen to the whole thing now. There's not that many albums I can say that for. I feel like this is the most Kanye album ever, if that makes sense. Like I don't even want to go one by one on which is my favorite track on this album because this album is all hits, no skips, besides highlights. Highlights is the only skip on this album. My favorite songs are Ultralight Beam, Father Stretch My Hands, 30 Hours, Wolves, St. Pablo, and No More Parties in LA.
Don't you lecture me with your $30 haircut!
Kanye's second studio album, Graduation, is in the high-level music category. Like with The Life of Pablo, this album is all hits and no misses. And I know some dumpster babies are gonna be like, ew, what about Barry Bonds? Ew, what about Drunken Hot Girls? Man, go eat some grandma pussy, cause these songs slap! This album has so many classic songs on it. I Wonder makes me float every time I hear it. Everything I Am cured my deaf cousin's cancer. I mean, he's still deaf, but it cured something. The song Can't Tell Me Nothing makes me want to talk back to a police officer for pulling me over, but then I would get 7 warning shots in the back of my head. But he thought it was his taser, so it's all good. And I literally listened to Good Morning on the morning of my high school graduation, which everyone should do if you haven't graduated yet. This album is just goddamn perfect, and it really shows what Kanye can do as an artist. And it's even more amazing that he released a better album than this. Highlights of this album are every single track, and the same thing could be said about the next album. The College Dropout is one of the greatest albums of all time, if not the greatest album of all time. This was the first Kanye album I've ever listened to, and I listened to it back when I was in middle school. My brother was a Kanye stan before I was, and I remember he was throbbing out the mouth when Life of Pablo released. And of course I've heard of Kanye before, but I only heard like his hit songs at that point, and not an album. So the next day I walked all the way to Stop and Shop to get some food, and during the walk I listened to The College Dropout. The album finished when I got home, and I remember thinking that was a good album, and my favorite song at the time was New Workout Plan. Of course my taste in music was very limited back then, because I think back then I literally only listened to J. Cole, Kendrick, and Tyler. This is all back in 2016, by the way. So back then, I only re-listened to the albums I was already familiar with. That included The College Dropout. So I listened to the album again, and again, and again. And with each listen, the more I liked the album. Flash forward like 2 years later, and now at this point, I'm a full-on Kanye meat writer. By this point, I already acknowledged that this album is the best album of all time. Maybe sharing the same spot with To Pimp a Butterfly, but both of them are literally the greatest albums of all time. But The College Dropout, which is probably gonna be me in a few months, is amazing from first track to last track. And I feel like this is the only Kanye album where every single song complements each other, and every single song is just fantastic. Like 10 out of 10 songs, every single one of them. There are only highs, no lows. This is the album of a lifetime. And I'm gonna be forcing my kids to listen to this album, and if they don't like it, back to the basement they go. My highlights of this album are every single track, and Last Call is the greatest song of all time. The greatest song of all time. Do Not At Me. And that's the list on why Kanye West is the greatest artist to ever live. God damn, this list was hard to make. But at the same time, who am I to rank Kanye's albums? I'm just a random Kanye stan, but I'm also a Tyler stan, a Kendrick stan, and a Pink Panther stan. God, I love her so much. But I'm just glad it's over. I'm never gonna make a list again. I can finally move on! Now rank every single Kanye song, please. No.
I got a very big penis.
Donda, the Donda, I put it in the Honda. Make it go poof like it's Cosmo and Wanda. What even is a Donda? Oh shoot, it's his mama. This feels disrespectful now, I'm sorry. Donkey Konga!